Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So the man known as the Jeffrey Epstein of Canada was arrested. 79-year-old fashion icon and mogul Peter Nygard was arrested and charged with sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and many other crimes involving dozens and dozens of teenage girls and women. And that's just who we know about so far. Nygard is the founder of a fashion company named Nygard International, and his alleged crimes span decades. Actually, there are reports of him assaulting girls and women as far back as 40 years ago. So he used his position as a famous fashion executive, and he, just like Epstein, used promises of a modeling career to recruit young girls and women, many of whom were disadvantaged, many who had already been sexually abused previously. One of Nygard's personal assistants from the early 2000s claims that Nygard told him, quote, "You need to find pretty girls in need." So this was not just who he happened to prey upon, he sought them out. That was his MO, and who he knew would be most compliant and desperate. So he also threatened to withhold opportunities in modeling to gain compliance and also to maintain control over his victims. And he used his money and power and threats to silence them, of course. In addition to using these children and women for his own sick satisfaction, just as with Epstein, he trafficked them to other twisted, evil predators. So Nygard is accused of assaulting and trafficking these young girls and women in the US, in the Bahamas, where he owned a private estate, and Canada. And there are now more than 80 female plaintiffs who've signed on to this lawsuit. Sadly, it took a heated and ongoing dispute with one of his neighbors in the Bahamas for his next door hedge fund billionaire neighbor to actually give a damn, apparently. I mean, he claims he didn't know about it before then, but as you're going to hear, many people knew. There was always talk. It was just like Epstein. So for decades, Nygard apparently paid off the local police to look the other way and to sweep allegations under the rug for him. He also allegedly shared some of the women with local politicians to keep them happy and quiet. And he groomed victims and taught them to recruit others, just as Epstein did. Also, just as with Epstein, Nygard's employees remained silent and cooperative until they were forced to share the truth. In fact, 6 of his former employees even admit to recruiting girls and women for him at stores, in nightclubs, and at restaurants. And the media was well aware of what was going on. In fact, actress Jessica Alba attended a party at one of Nygard's properties in 2004 when she was filming a movie. I believe it was at his home in the Bahamas, at his compound. She was on a press tour and she was asked about it, and she described it as, quote, gross. And she went on to say, quote, "These girls are like 14 years old in the jacuzzi taking off their clothes." Okay. How about you talk to the police? That's an idea. But apparently Nygard threatened or sued any media outlets that dared to investigate him. And similar to Donald Trump, Nygard would use the judicial system to just wear his opponents down. So he just exhausted them by stringing it out with motions and delays and all kinds of games. And this isn't the first time he's been accused. I mean, far, far from it. And I mean publicly. I don't mean like the allegations just go back 40 years. I mean, public accusations go back decades. And somehow he's wriggled out of accountability. So Nygard was charged with raping an 18-year-old girl in 1980, for example. But for some reason, she then refused to testify, so they had to drop the case. And then later in the mid-90s, He settled a sexual harassment complaint brought by 3 of his former employees. He got out of that one for only about $15,000. This is an incredibly wealthy man, just like Epstein. Why would they settle for only $15,000 for 3 of them? So that means basically they walked away each with less than $5,000 because they still had to pay attorney's fees. It makes no sense. But there have been many, many, many accusations of sexual assault, sexual harassment, even rape allegations against him made by his former employees. Some of them say that he drugged them and then raped them, or he would sneak into their rooms on business trips and rape them. The similarities to Epstein are unbelievable and unnerving. Nygard, just as with Epstein, even talked about cloning himself. What is it with these guys? They seriously are so full of themselves. They seriously believe they're God's gift. I wonder if they even think of it as rape, or if they even think of it as against these women's will, or if they just talk themselves into believing that they're totally irresistible. It's mind-blowing. So this all came to a head in February of this past year. Authorities raided his home and New York corporate headquarters, which prompted Nygard to step down from the company that he created 50 years ago. And following the raid and then news that he was under investigation for sexual assault, major retailers like Dillard started dropping his fashion lines. So in March, the company filed for bankruptcy in both Canada and the US. So we'll see if Nygard can get out of this one. You know, you never know. But hopefully he spends what little time he has left of his repugnant life rotting in prison somewhere and has a nice big boyfriend to keep him company. The problem, though, is that even though the U.S. can ask that he's extradited, it could take years. According to people who know the law, they're saying, yes, the U.S. has asked that he be extradited from Canada where he's being held, but it literally could take years. So he could die while still in prison in Canada and never pay for his crimes. Let's hope that doesn't happen, though. All right, I will keep you guys posted on this story as I have with the Epstein horrific details, but as always, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching and listening. I'll talk with you soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to Plants and Politics. The only way we can take our country and power back is to spread the truth and build an army. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again.